To be very honest, I'm trying to like.
It was AV created for sure. So see if you can refresh. But anyway, while you're doing that, one of my favorite things coming up in this patch is not having anything to do with balance. It's how beautiful they made some of these. I did not expect huge world gen changes to be coming in this.
Oh yeah, that's going to be the most exciting thing because they all come with their own. Not only do they come with their own palettes, but they also come with like their own little map styles too because of what these palettes have. So some are flat, some have no obstructions, some are full of obstructions and stuff. So it's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, we are.
Very interesting to see. Here we go. Game number 1, Zeno Akoop versus the Gentleman, as they have a very small map in between them. Zeno in the west side and Gentleman to the north.
Whoa, BTM, look at this deck coming out of the Gentleman. I didn't even see that.
That is a very interesting deck that Gentleman is going to be playing for this one. And it might work because, once again, we don't have a counter to the barbed wire on Zeno's side of the deck.
This is true. Yeah, I like again, it's obvious players cannot see the decks that the other players have taken, so I think this is a lot of metagaming here coming out of the Gentleman. He knows, as we were talking about before this game, that Zeno likes this long macro playstyle typically, and so he's like, cool, I'm just going to build up an impenetrable wall of defense that you can't get by, and then I don't know exactly what his game plan is to win this game with Toads coming out of Zeno, but I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting of how fast Gentleman can get up his structures before Zeno's able to get a sizable army to overwhelm him. So both sides going to go for the 7-farm opening, it looks like. So this is a really interesting sort of change of pace that we see in the meta. Like before, the 5-farm, 6-farm opening was a very common thing, but now with the mole being nerfed in terms of damage recently, it looks like players are feeling a little bit safer to go for the 7-8-farm strategy. And I think a lot of the players that also do the Lizard Rushes aren't really doing it as much, or we just don't see them in play very recently. So we're going to see a lot of these 8-farm openings, 7-farm openings most likely in this tournament.
I definitely enjoy seeing a little bit more variety in the amount of farms as being the opening, because that's kind of one of the few bits of variety that Tooth and Tail can bring to its early game. And so ever since this, I felt pressure every game I was playing to do 5-farm Warren all the time, no matter what. And so it's nice to see you can get away with a little bit more.
Unfortunately, Gentleman loses a Lizard on the first go, not even starting the engagement quite yet, but he is advancing his way forward, taking that upper mill to the north-south side of Zeno's base. So he has a lot of territory to work with. This is the sort of like the classic box-in strategy here that I've seen in the past before, and this is a pretty extreme one. Zeno Akoop unfortunately having to work up against high ground, and he lost so much territory against the Gentleman because of that grab. Now the question is, will he be able to maintain this territory lead? Oh my gosh, 2 pillboxes already up.
Yeah, unless he's able to get something a little heavier up, I don't think this kind of thing is enough to trick Zeno. Granted, he did get a little bit unlucky with his spawn because he's limited in the amount of buildings he can build. So you're always guaranteed to be able to build 4 Warrens next to your base, and it looks like Zeno doesn't have room for much more than that.
It's not just the spawn though, it's just that Gentleman's playing very aggressively here, just taking that mill instantly for himself. So he's just gonna try to choke out Zeno as soon as possible here. Zeno forced to take this expansion when he probably didn't really want to, but he needs the space to build. He also needs to limit where Gentleman can build to corner him out. We already see Gentleman sneaking another pillbox. The pigs see it, but the pillbox is already up. It's gonna be able to do some damage before it's gonna be taken down. Ooh, that Toad is lucky. It almost exploded right on top of it, which is probably not what he wants to use the Toad for.
Yeah, the Gentleman going down to 0 Lizards as he's resupplying, but again, having these proxy pillboxes up, he's going to be able to hold Zeno at bay for now. But Zeno's building up a pretty scary army and even getting some tier 2 behind it. It's going to be tough for the Gentleman to hold it unless he starts throwing down some more structures or some serious Lizards.
And this is sort of the scary thing for the Gentleman's side, is that because he's focused so much on applying this structure pressure against Zeno, he's not really going to be able to keep up his farm as much. Zeno already getting 2 farms building on the way, and very soon that's going to come back very big for him, especially in that he's bringing tier 2s to the party right now, who are currently wearing down one of the pillboxes, already 2 points of damage on top of it.
I almost think that like a sniper balloon, or I guess if you tried to put a drum fire, Zeno would probably, that would trigger him to go in.
There it is. The drum fire cannon is going to be put down. Zeno has a bit of a time limit here before that thing comes up. It's almost halfway through. How much damage he's going to be able to do? It looks like a lot. Gentleman just threw his entire Lizard army into it. This is dead. This structure rush is gonzos for the Gentleman. Zeno was able to break free of it and just overwhelm the Gentleman's army here. He put so much money into those structures. Unfortunately, he didn't get a lot out of it, and that's the GG call.
Yeah, and even going up to 11 farms at the end, that was definitely a tough hold. I think, yeah, that was an interesting attempt by the gentleman. If he was somehow able to get a drumfire down a little bit earlier, that could have been the saving or the winning grace, but he just wasn't able to in the end. And Zeno, wise to how to handle these kinds of cheeses, was able to hold it off.
Yeah, just the very unfortunate thing for the gentleman is that Zeno was able to adapt so fast to the situation around him. He also had that mill straight above him that was unfortunately not being attacked by the gentleman. So I think the approach was fine for the gentleman, but it just wasn't really enough pressure. I think if he was able to get some barbed wire up there, that may have been a different story. But I think he was a little bit too afraid to use the money into the barbed wire when he was trying to reinforce his lizards from time and time again.
Slightly changing up his deck, getting some ferrets. Now, I don't remember what he had in the previous game. Maybe he still had ferrets then. The gentleman looking like he's going to shy away from this heavy structure composition and go into something a little bit more standard for game number 2.
Zeno's actually switching things up a little bit, changing out the skunks for the ferrets here. So in case he's ever in that situation again, he can use the ferrets to pressure out. But yeah, as you said, the gentleman switching out his deck entirely as he situates himself in the sort of west side as Zeno's in the sort of east side.
Yeah, thereabouts. So a pretty heavy tier 1 composition out of the gentleman, but still grabbing a tier 1 and a tier 3. So he's got his late game options along with kind of a Swiss Army knife of tier 1 units he can bring out depending on what Zeno decides to go with.
He might have to rely on those late game options, considering that in the early game he's going to have a tough time attacking to Zeno's base here. Double tier high ground that he has right now, so I think for the time being, Gentleman has to play this one a little bit safely, or at least attack Zeno from a unsuspected position, but that's a little hard on this map.
It absolutely will be. I wonder, I guess this mostly looks like it's going to shape up to be a really standard game. There's nothing too crazy happening at the very beginning here. Zeno getting a Warren at 7 farms, and the Gentleman sticking steady at 6 as he's going up to 2 Warren Lizards.
I mean, he sees how close they are, and he wants to try to get an advantage as soon as possible in terms of army count here, and it really helps that there is a nice patch of road leading to Zeno's base here, so it's going to give an extra boost to reinforcements. But it looks like he sold off his second Warren, going to go straight into the farm instead. Meanwhile, Zeno is going to keep the second Warren he's building, go stick with the 7th farm for the time being. So Gentleman might have to be a little bit careful when it comes to skirmishes, but if it works out in the end, he will have the better economy for some time.
Zeno's going to match suit, and he's going to throw down his 8th farm as well. Just sitting out with his 6 lizards as a little defensive force, as these players are both going to eco up. I'm going to predict Zeno's probably going to throw down, all right, just another lizard Warren. I think we're going to see probably an early tier 2 out just to be safe, and maybe an expand.
Gotta be a little bit careful here. He's just bringing his lizards out just to zone out Zeno's any possible attempts to try to attack into him right now. He's putting his Warrens on a high ground as well, give him that extra vision and that space here, and he's going to go for the Squizzer composition that we were talking about earlier. So he's going to have the lizards frontline tanking the damage, scattering, targeting. Meanwhile, the squirrels in the background are going to do most of the DPS.
It looks like this sort of 5 Warren, 5 tier 1 Warren, followed by a tier 2 Warren is kind of the standard play we're seeing, unless Zeno's about to take an expansion instead. But it usually seems to be the case to get 5 tier 1 Warrens out before you make your next move, whether that's expanding or getting a tier 2 Warren out.
It's a very safe number to have, really, in terms of you have an army count, you have enough units that are able to reinforce in time, and you have plenty of ways to respond to your opponent in case a fight does break out. But we do see that Zeno responds to this by going straight into the econ game, trying to make sure his side is boosted up, and this is the classic Zeno game that we're very used to seeing.
Indeed it is. The Gentleman getting his boar started. Where did he tuck that thing? Yep, right in the back of his base there.
But, oh, it's not scouted.
Zeno doesn't
yet.
know.
He's in the wrong spot to scout it, and he wants to try to see what's behind here. And he finds it. There it is.
He's wise to that. Yep.
All right, the tier 3 is on its way here. Zeno Akoop has to adjust quickly here. Probably going to transition to snakes. He has a ton of farm right now. Oh no, he's going to farm straight farm.
Wow, I guess he's hoping. Yeah, he's hoping that he's going to be able to get that economic engine up and running by the time the boar comes out. Granted, it is quite a bit of time, but it has finished and the boar has started. So that is, 40 seconds, right, that Zeno has to make something happen. 2 snakes will not be enough. I'm going to call that right now.
Well, for the time being, Zeno will be able to get a lot of food in that time. That's about 280 food for Zeno to get with his number of farms. And a little bit less than 280, depending on if those 3 farms do get up. But he's going to try to transition as quickly as possible. Trying to get the snakes on the field to have something to wear down the boar. But that boar is going to have a lot of pigeon frontlining and pigeons to support it. Squirrels frontlining, not pigeons. You don't want to frontline the pigeons.
Right. They won't be hit by the boar anyway, so they'll be a good trick for that. And luckily, in this patch, the boar does not explode, so heavy tier 1 ball, if it can, survive the boar.
Zeno has to prepare for this one right now. There's pigeons on the side of the gentleman as well. He's already burrowed back to the base. We're going to see gentleman attacking the sidelines here. He wants to get that high ground advantage for himself here as they attack into each other right now. Zeno trying to tag the boar with many poison attacks as possible. That snake is going down very fast. 4 stacks of poison on top of the board, but there are a lot of pigeons healing around it already, counteracting the poison here, and the gentleman's able to get away scot-free, taking out the snake in the process. And he's going to keep on attacking right now. That board just burning pure liquid fire onto the battlefield. And 6 stacks of healing means it's not going to go down anytime soon. Zeno has to back up his army if he wants to keep it alive. His snake, the most important thing he has to kill the boar with. But he has a lot of squirrels to contend with. He has a lot of pigeons too. So he always has to keep backing. And this is a good chance for the gentleman to take out this mill here. Zeno attacking from the south side, trying to make his way forward. Slowly but surely, he only has 1 snake and a very few number of squirrels here to try to fend this one off. But there are just too many things on the side of the gentleman right now.
And keeping in mind that Zeno had no idea which tier 3 the gentleman was going for. If I were him, whenever I see a tier 3, I usually think it's Badger or Fox still, usually Badger these days. And so I'm not sure if Zeno would have had a better response if he was able to tell, but it turns out a bunch of squirrels just kind of got roasted as soon as that boar made it in. And this flock of pigeons really putting in work for the gentleman.
And he's going to go for the attack once again. Luckily, Zeno still has a snake. Well, now he just lost the Warren. So all he has are the snakes, who are both on very low health right now. And Gentleman just charging his way on forward with the boar, leading the way here. Just trying to burn down the enemy heretics right now. And the Gentleman just slowly making his way through. The pigeon stacks just keep making sure that boar stays alive. And the snakes are gone. That's it for Zeno's army. He has nothing to defend with right now. The pigs are able to snipe the boar though. But I think that's pretty much it for Zeno. He's going to try his best for one last-ditch attempt here to defend, try and put down as many squirrel warrens as possible, but not enough units to defend with at the moment here, and that's going to be game. Great play from the gentleman. What
a game! That's really excellent. When you kind of scout, his tier 3 scout was just late enough that Zeno didn't quite have enough time to respond in kind, and so I think just that timing there was enough for the gentleman to get his strategy out, and it was a really excellent push. Like, just really well-rounded, good amount of pigeons, good amount of squirrels, and there wasn't enough in the end for Zeno to handle it.
And just the problem with that game was that Zeno kind of responded to the tier 3 a little bit wrong here. Unfortunately, he was trying to see if he can out-econ that tier 3, but he wasn't really prepared for how fast it was able to come out, as essentially the gentleman rushed the tier 3 as soon as possible.
Yeah, he was definitely playing the game where he was making the bet that, like, if I can survive with a little bit less army, if I can just barely survive this boar push, I'm going to be in great shape, because that's usually the case. If anyone never goes for a one base tier 3 push, if you kill that tier 3 unit, the game's over, because by then you've hit the 5-minute mark, you've gone down to 4 farms, your economy is trash, and so if you're able to weather the storm, then you're in really great shape. But that it's almost like a coin toss sometimes. Clearly, in that case, Zeno did not weather that storm of fire.
Well, for the time being right now, Zeno Akoop did drop a game here, 1-1. The gentleman made a very nice match. He's going to go for the very same deck, it looks like. 4 tier 1, Snake and the boar. Zeno, in the meantime, going to switch things up. He's going to take out the ferrets and go back to the skunks to see if he can handle the tier 1 pressure that gentleman played in the last game.
If he would have had skunks, that could have made the difference. I don't know. Snakes were still a great choice, because snakes are a great tier 1, tier 3 killer,
definitely.
rather. And so, in this case, I don't know if that tier 2 switch out will make a difference, but definitely if the gentleman goes for any kind of heavy tier 1 play, these skunks, they're a lot of fun. They're a little bit tricky to play with, but when they work great.
Speaking of which, Zeno has to work with a bit of an interesting territory from the southeast side here, surrounded by water and cliffside. So he has a very interesting point for himself here. Very defendable, but how does he get out is the question.
Right, and since he didn't take any structures with him, it's not like he can put down any neat defenses there. But he's gonna have to. Whenever I see a map like this, I always kind of assume or predict that players are gonna have to move out with some sort of an early 1-base push, or move out even earlier to try to snag this gristmill that he's running by right now on the high ground, and just kind of position your army there and hope that you can hold it to get a bit of an econ advantage out.
Yeah, this middle ground is going to be a very huge factor for both sides, just separating between the two of them. And it also means that if it gets taken by the gentleman, Zeno is pretty much stuck in the choke point.
Yeah, he's not going to get out of there.
Not at all. Meanwhile, both sides just getting out their usual 8 farm 2 warrens here, making sure their units come out on the field to play. We're going to see the gentleman just play with the lizards a little bit here. Just he seems to be favoring those a lot, just being able to move around them with them very quickly, able to scout things out very fast. And this middle mill he scouts out right now is going to be very important to take over. You can see already he's putting himself. He actually takes it. He's going to go for it.
He's seen the opportunity. Now he's
Zeno!
going to see if he can hold on to it. Zeno does not know, right?
Yeah, he immediately built skunks a little bit earlier on, so he's gonna be able to stave off any tier 1 pressure that gentleman has, but has to be very careful to position his skunks. At the very least, the nice thing about this is that he has the choke point to work with, so it kind of forces gentleman to play into his side of the map.
I think that. So, what's your opinion between lizards and skunks, BTM? I think that they're fast enough that they tend to sometimes run past the gas cloud. So they're not a counter to skunks, but they do better than squirrels, in my opinion.
It definitely depends on the map, what the map looks like, what the path of the lizards have to go through. In this case, because if he wants to attack the Zeno's base, it has to be across that one bridge. It's pretty easy for the skunks to lay down the gas and do a lot of damage to the lizards before they make it to the other side. Plus the fact that Zeno's going into toads, so it doesn't really matter too much if he does manage to bypass the gas. Now, so here's one thing. Zeno has found that one tile that he can escape through. So he's going to use that to his advantage to just poke his way out.
The one, is that just to the right of his bridge where he's poked out now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is. And now he's actually putting down a warren there for just to tank some shots as well as getting some reinforcements on the field. The skunk already making its way through. Unfortunately, doesn't die very fast. The second skunk also has HP getting chunked down. Luckily, it's there with the pigeon support right now. And the toad is doing a lot of damage to the lizard, so the lizard not fast enough to take it out. The squirrel is also taking too much damage from the skunk gas plus the squirrel shots lining their way around the map here. Has to be a little bit careful though. The reinforcements coming in for the gentleman. He has to back up the skunk to do enough damage, but doing a lot right now is choking out any reinforcements that make their way through onto this high ground area, and it's causing a lot of the problems for the gentleman. He can't find a good position for his units to attack into the gas right now, and there are too many toads as well, taking out all of his lizards.
These skunks can be so annoying when they're attacking into warrens like that because they throw down their gas and they just immediately damage units that are coming out. So it makes reinforcing an even bigger problem than it already is when you lose an engagement like that. And so Zeno's just going to continue pushing this advantage, and I'm not sure if the gentleman has an answer to it because unfortunately at this point he just doesn't have the warrens down even if he has the money to resupply.
He's trying his hardest, but we see Zeno respond in turn. My units can't attack the mill, but it doesn't matter. I'll still choke you out, he says, as he takes game number 2 in a fantastic fashion. We're going to see the power of the skunks right there, ladies and gentlemen.
That is why chemical weapons were abandoned in war, right there. That's the reason.
You're not going to see skunks in Tooth and Tail 2, that's for sure. Yeah. And with that, we have our second round.